my heart and sword for Demacia.
My blurg and blue for Bablafia.
That makes me happy. Hey, what's up? I got some more League content for you guys. Legends of Runeterra is invite only right now. If you're lucky enough to get a drop from a streamer, or if you have 10 streams open at once for a couple of hours like I did, you're able to play. I've played the game for about 12 hours already on and off stream, so I have some ideas of what is good or not. I've also hit Legend in Hearthstone a few times and have played it since its beta, so you could say I have a knack for card games. With that, I'm here to make a tier list of what champions I think are the best in the early build of Legends of Runeterra. I like tier lists, I know you guys like tier lists, so let's get into it. So starting off, I'm going to put Anivia into A tier, because she's not weak by any means, but she's also not horribly oppressive. Her steep 6 mana cost means that other cheaper champions have had a few turns to satisfy their level up conditions if they haven't been removed. Lacking the ability to block means that you can ignore her and deal direct damage to your opponent if you're playing an aggro deck against Anivia. Also, if you stun or recall her, she loses a lot of tempo. She's overall pretty slow, but she does have some upsides too. She's incredibly sticky because of her constant revive mechanic, and when she does get an attack off, she acts as a pseudo board clear. In the right deck and meta, she could potentially be S tier, but my first impressions are going to keep her in A. Ashe, without leveling up, is also A tier. With her 3 health and all, it's easy to snipe her down with some spell cards, but if she does get upgraded, she instantly becomes an S tier card. A Frostbite Freljord deck with Ashe leading the charge and any of the other champions behind her is an easy to play and frightening deck. I've been completely shut out by Ashe numerous times. It's also incredibly frustrating. I guess Glacials in TFT and in this game are both toxic. Brom is probably S tier just by the sheer nature that he is a must remove card. If Brom is given enough time to level up, the game is probably over. Summoning a 3/3 every time he survives damage is really strong in Legends of Runeterra because of the amount of emphasis on resources. Brom is also a good support card in general, and can be splashed into any deck if you have the extra champion space. If you're teching Darius as a finisher, then he's just a win more card, or a way to close out the game. Unfortunately, he's fragile to frostbite, stuns, and other removal spells, and he's a pretty bad card from behind. Based on the upgrade animation alone, he would be an S tier, but as a card, I have to put him in B tier. Draven is a cheap champion and even has a support card that puts him at the top of the deck, so he has consistency too. However, I think his level up takes too long. I've played a Draven deck for 10 games and only got him upgraded in 3 of them. Even in those games, Draven did not win me the game or even do all that much in general. He's really easy to remove, and his Spinning Axe card requires you to discard another card in your hand. Maybe he's good in a Jinx discard deck where there's synergy, but as a standalone, I would put him in B or even C tier, honestly. Of course, Elise by herself is really bad. You have to run an immense spider engine to make her a threat. Luckily, the spiders are good standalone cards and have strong synergies with each other. It's also very easy to satisfy her level up condition. I personally made a spooky spider Elise deck for Halloween, and I only dropped 1 game after playing it for hours. In my opinion, I'd say Elise is a solid A tier champ. Ezreal is really annoying, but also very fragile. He dies to a lot of early game removal cards, but if he's left unchecked, he can snowball out of control just like in League. From my experience, he's very strong with Heimer, as there is innate synergy between the two. If you run a Piltover control deck with Freljord stall and draw splashed in, Ezreal is probably an S tier champion, but a strong A tier as a standalone. Fiora, is an extremely terrifying card. I think she's a little too powerful, and there are plenty of cards to support a Fiora deck. However, she's pretty bad against Ashe or control decks that can just keep removing her. But as she's an alternate win condition and easy to play, I'm going to stick her in S tier. Garen is another terrifying Demacian. His level up condition where he needs to do damage twice is extremely easy to satisfy, and his upgraded form gives you an attack phase every turn. He's also just a massive 7/7 beat stick that heals back all damage at the end of turn. You don't have to build a deck around him, meaning you can tech him into any deck that has champion space and Demacia cards. Honestly, I wouldn't be doing him justice if I didn't put him in S tier. I think Hecarim and the whole ephemeral deck has a lot of potential, but is just too weak in this early state. Maybe with refinement and more support cards, the deck could take off and be top tier with Hecarim leading the spectral charge. But until then, I would say he's the first C tier champion. That being said, I will be trying to make him work and proving myself wrong because I love the idea of the archetype as a whole. Heimer is a big brain card. He's obviously designed for a control deck that out-resources the opponent, and he can do just that when he's aided by Ezreal, or maybe even Karma. He's really slow, but his turrets are insanely powerful. I'd say he's B tier, but maybe I'm sleeping on his potential. If there was a way to speed up his gameplay, he'd be a lot stronger. Jinx is incredibly fun, easy, and powerful. I've never seen a card game nail the discard mechanic as good as Legends of Runeterra has. She has a good pairing with Draven, with their double quick attacks and oppressive offensive capabilities, but I like putting her with Teemo. Her cards are extremely intuitive, making me give her an S tier spot. Kalista's cheap cost, easy to satisfy upgrade, and strong attack are all signs of a good card, but the nail in the coffin is her effect that makes her bonded allies take damage for her. This gives her protection from damaging spells or challenger attacks that force her to block. Just thinking about it now, pairing her with a Brom Freljord deck sounds so strong. I'll put her in A for now, but I see potential for a refined S tier deck. Karma is a pretty bad champion. I honestly don't see the reason to run her over any other champ, except for the fact that she works with Ezreal or Heimer sometimes. Her level up requires you to reach 10 mana, so you either have to ramp to 10 or wait 10 turns. By then, the game is probably decided unless you play a heavy control deck. But at that point, why not play a control deck with better win conditions that don't include Karma? I understand there are some cool synergies with her upgraded form, like being able to cast Decimate on the enemy Nexus and dealing 16 damage in a single turn, or casting Spinning Axe twice on Draven, but it just seems cheesy and average at best. For these reasons, I'm putting her in C tier. Katarina is a pretty difficult card to play around. The challenge is quite similar to how she is in League 2, which is actually hilarious. The creators of this game have captured how champions feel so incredibly well. Kat is really good on the offensive, and her level up ability allows you to create an attack every turn. I think she's best in a beatdown deck like Spiders or anything else that has strong and swarming minions. I'll put her in A tier, but she's done some S tier performances for me. Lucian and Senna are very good Demacian cards to splash in any deck if you have the extra space. They provide a strong early game if you're focusing on closing it out with Garen or something. Lucian creates a heavy rushdown beatdown strategy that can be very strong from ahead. I'd give him A tier. Just like in League, Lux is so annoying to deal with. Every time you think you can kill her, she shields herself with her W and Barrier, both of which have a low cooldown and mana cost. I don't know. She's strong, she's stupid, she's Demacia. S tier. I've seen like no Shen gameplay and that saddens me. I think he would be insanely good in a Lux deck, providing more barriers and leveling up easily. By himself though, he's probably B tier. Teemo. Toxic in League and in this game, making players hate their lives and the cause of many broken monitors. It's actually frightening how much support there is for Teemo. There are many cards to promote his mushroom stacking strategy, but he is easily removed by spell damage. Because of his popularity and support, I'm going to give him S tier. Thresh has some of the most potential in this game, but I feel like he's a bit too slow to pull off the dream combos. There's just too much that could go wrong with his strategy, but I really like him and have some insane deck ideas to try with him. B tier. Tryndamere is just being Tryndamere, pissing people off and being quite pissed himself. He's a good late game beat stick that doesn't die, but that's all there is to him. Your opponent will either have an out to him or not have an out to him. Just like my Trynd top lane in solo queue, he's a coin flip champion. B tier. Vladimir is the premier zoo deck enabler. For those of you who don't know, Zoo means flooding the board with cheap and small minions. He works well with this strategy because of the whittling he can do to the enemy nexus whenever there's an attack. There are lots of spell cards that deal 1 damage to your own minion and give it +2 attack, which satisfies his level up condition while creating lots of damage. Once this kind of deck is refined, it will be a staple in the meta, because Zoo-ish aggressive decks always find a place to beat unrefined and weak decks. B tier right now, but he will be higher up later, I promise. Yasuo is a fan favorite champion, so I feel like there will be a lot of Yas decks out there. There's also a lot of stun and recall mechanics that synergize with him. Yas provides a unique control deck mechanic where he deals damage to the units that you target. I'd say most of the decks are average in power right now, so I'll give him B tier. Zed. Finally, we have the Playmaker. Zed probably has some of the coolest interactions and mechanics in the entire game, which is also appropriate and reminiscent of League. In terms of power though, he's like, okay, not too shabby, but not too broken. I'd say solid B tier. And that about wraps up my day 1 tier list video. I gave this a lot of thought and looked at the game through the lens of Hearthstone, Magic the Gathering, and Yu-Gi-Oh!, of which I have experience with all, to come up with these opinions of the champions. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. What champion am I completely sleeping on? What champion am I giving too much credit? Tell me what your favorite deck is to watch or play so far. I also stream on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Hell, I might even bonus stream today because I love playing Legends of Runeterra that much. Check out my channel in the description below. Thank you so much for watching and have a good one. Laters.